Got a lot of NFL stuff to get into. There is no question about it. But I just want to deviate from that by saying this. This is about to shock a lot of people. I am actually rooting for the Cowboys to win this week. Now, I know that's hard to believe. I know you look at that and you say, I'm sick of that damn Stephen A. and his lying self. He don't mean it. He don't mean it one bit. But I actually do. Here's the reason. I didn't say I think they would win. I said I want them to win. The reason why I want the Cowboys to win is because if they were to win and the Eagles were to lose, which I think is going to happen, that means round 2, the Dallas Cowboys would end up going to New Orleans to face the #1 Saints and Drew Brees, who would be aching to avenge the beatdown that they took here in Dallas weeks ago, and my God, would it happen? The Cowboys would go, oh Lord, if you gotta go to New Orleans, what would happen to the Cowboys in that scenario? Oh, I would love to see it. I would love to see it. But I gotta tell you something right now. Ladies and gentlemen, as I look, the Cowboys have a better roster. I love Van Der Esch and Jalen Smith at that linebacker spot. DeMarcus Lawrence is a stud, even though he won several weeks without a damn sack. The bottom line is he's still a stud. Randy Gregory is scheduled to be eligible to play, okay? And so you got a whole bunch of stuff going on, and as a result of that, I expect this to be a hard-fought game. But guess what? The #1 running attack in football belongs to the Seattle Seahawks. One of the top 5 quarterbacks in football belongs to the Seattle Seahawks. And their defense isn't rife with a bunch of softies either. That combined with Dak Prescott, Jason Garrett, and Scott Linehan calling the damn plays, I'm not going to lie to you. I got a belief in Seattle winning this game. I hope I'm wrong. I actually hope I'm wrong. I actually hope that the Dallas Cowboys extend their season a full week just so y'all could get your hopes up. Not understanding that the beatdown in New Orleans would be imminent. But you know something? I just look at Seattle right now. Playoff time. Think about it with the Cowboys when you think about it from this perspective. With Dak Prescott not having a #1 option at the receiver spot, you would think that it was clearly obvious. This was before the Amari Cooper trade. You would think that it's clearly obvious that Jason Garrett and Scott Linehan would give Ezekiel Elliott the ball and run the damn football. And for the first half of the season, he damn near forgot Ezekiel Elliott existed. Now, Ezekiel Elliott ran for nearly 1,500 yards this year. He averaged nearly 5 yards a carry this year. We know he likes to eat, he likes to eat, he likes to eat. And boy, can he do it. And he rushed for over 100 yards in week 3 in the loss at Seattle to the Seattle Seahawks team. I get all of that. But that Seattle team is not the Seattle team that won 4 straight. It's not the Seattle team that beat Kansas City. It's not the Seattle team that ended up in the postseason. It's not the Seattle Seahawks team led by Russell Wilson. It's a different ball game. And not only do they have the #1 rushing attack in all of football, they got a 3-headed monster at the running back spot. And when you got Carson and Penny being 2 of those guys, and you got those boys to feed the ball to, and you got a guy in Doug Baldwin who's no joke play, and you got Russell Wilson, you still got Lockett out there. Russell Wilson is no joke. Pete Carroll is a damn upgrade compared to Jason Garrett. I got news for y'all. Dallas is in a world of trouble. So we have to get into it from this perspective. How should any of us feel if they were to end up losing this game, this Sunday, going through this entire season, and yet again failing to win a damn playoff game? How should you feel? Just think about that for a second. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3766. We're going to get into a bunch of NFL stuff today. There's no question about it, because I got a lot of stuff to say. And with this live audience right here in Texas Live, I'm going to throw out a bunch of stuff that I said yesterday. It's not just about the 3 games being played this NFL weekend. It's not just about revisiting Antonio Brown and Big Ben Roethlisberger and whether or not the Steelers should trade Antonio Brown, because I think people are on drugs suggesting such things. But I'm also sitting there looking at the level of discrepancy. And just to reiterate in front of this live studio audience, and remind everybody out there what I was talking about yesterday. The NFL now has 2 black coaches, Mike Tomlin and Anthony Lynn. The NFL now has 1 African-American GM. Now that Ozzie Newsome is stepping down in Baltimore. Some dude, Chris Greer in Miami, that I never heard about. They don't have 1 single minority owner. And they're 70% black, the league. That's a problem for me. And if it's offensive to anybody and it's made people uncomfortable because I saw comments on social media, I didn't give a damn yesterday, I don't give a damn now, and I'm never going to give a damn. It ain't right. You know, so many people look at the world of politics to make the proclamation that the nation seems to be gearing in a different direction, or we seem to be moving backward. I'll tell you where we seem to be moving backwards. It's in the NFL. That's where we seem to be moving backwards. But I'm going to hold off on that. Let's also make sure that we understand, and I reiterate to my audience why I said what I said yesterday. And a very, very good, if not great, NFL analyst for the NFL Network, Mike Mayock, became the general manager for the Oakland Raiders. I have no issue with Mike Mayock. Good man, good football mind, credentials in terms of his football acumen speak for itself because we've had the pleasure of watching him for years. This is no knock against him. John Lynch in San Francisco with the 49ers. No knock against him. He's doing a good job this year as far as I'm concerned. If Garoppolo doesn't get hurt, who knows what porn star Jimmy would have done for the San Francisco 49ers. And for those of you who are wondering why I call him porn star Jimmy, when you're hanging out on Melrose Boulevard with a porn star before you ever threw a damn pass this season for the San Francisco 49ers, that earned you the nickname porn star Jimmy. Having said all of that, he can ball. He can play. Got mad respect for him. But let's keep something very, very much in mind. John Lynch never had any experience. Mike Mayock never had any experience in the NFL. Neither of them ever worked in an NFL front office. They got a GM job. What minority gets that opportunity? What minority gets an opportunity to have an executive position with 0 experience? See, when you do stuff like that, it's not about the individuals. It's about the flagrant absence of a process for some while others are held to it, which creates and provokes feelings and emotion of unfairness, which divides us as a nation. And nobody wants to say that because everybody out there is uncomfortable. Again, I don't care. I'm not here to be friends. If I was here to be friends, I wouldn't be in Dallas right before these great people talking about their damn Cowboys. I mean what I say, and I say what I mean. If there is a process that everybody else has to go through, there shouldn't be exceptions. And if there's going to be exceptions, how about making sure that there's exceptions that extend far beyond just white males? Why can't a black man get an exception? Why can't an Hispanic get an exception? Why can't an Asian American get an exception? Why can't a Native American get an exception? Why can't women get an exception? That is the problem. That is what needs to be addressed. And that is what the NFL needs to focus and lock in on, because clearly the Rudy rule was violated. If not flat out just circumvented. And that is what needs to be said. I said it yesterday. I'm saying it now. I'm going to say it tomorrow. I'm going to say it next week. I'm going to say it next month. I'm going to say it next year. As long as I got breath in my body and I'm working on these airways, I'm going to say it. And I don't give a damn how anybody else feels. This is the Stephen A. Smith Show. You better ask somebody. 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. Now let me transition to a much lighter subject and get to the NBA. First of all, let me applaud the NBA for what I'm seeing. Oh, by the way, on that same subject, NBA clearly doesn't have that problem because they had the first minority that majority owned the franchise in Bob Johnson, who ultimately sold it to Michael Jordan. So the NBA's ahead of the curve, not behind it. So I applaud them for that. But let me get to the court. I love, even though there's too many ticky-tack calls, there's too much time with instant replay, I got that. But I love the brand of basketball that I'm seeing. The NBA clearly wanted to go the direction of more offense, and that's what they're doing, and I'm loving that. I'm loving that. But I also want to say this. What a game last night with the Houston Rockets and Golden State Warriors. We saw Klay Thompson get a stroke back. We saw Kevin Durant doing his thing. We saw Steph Curry putting on a little show. But all of that paled in comparison to a guy by the name of James Harden. Now here in Dallas, or outside of Dallas, they don't care too much about that because they sold on Luka Doncic, who's going to be Rookie of the Year. He can ball. But let me tell you something. There's levels to this. And what we're seeing, I'm here to tell you something right now. What we're seeing from James Harden right now looks like the best offensive player in football. He looks like the best offensive player in all of football. All of basketball. All of basketball. I mean, he looks absolutely sensational. I got football on my mind, I apologize. In basketball. He's got a three. He's got a mid-range game. He's got a nasty handle. He can get to the rack anytime he wants to. And oh, by the way, he's making free throws at 85%. This brother is something to behold. What James Harden is doing right now is literally carrying the Houston Rockets on his back. Without Chris Paul with the groin injury, without Eric Gordon, James Harden has taken the Houston Rockets on his shoulders and said, give me the damn ball, I'll carry you there. Now, Houston shot 54 threes last night. 54 threes. They had 54 three-point field goal attempts. James Harden made 10 by himself. But I'm telling you right now, Mike D'Antoni, give him a little bit of credit as well, because guess what? That's the style he employs. When you got Gerald Green launching 10 three-pointers, you know that's the system. But the Houston Rockets, assumed dead, has resurrected because of the one man and one man only. Austin Rivers had a damn good game last night. But they have resurrected because of one man, the reigning league MVP, who right now is in a two-man race for league MVP honors with the Greek Freak. Now, you can throw Paul George in there. When LeBron comes back, you can throw him in there. But the Greek Freak and James Harden right now are going at it for league MVP honors. You can throw Kawhi Leonard up in there too, even though last night was not his greatest night. Now, some people are going to look at the Spurs fans in San Antonio last night who booed Kawhi Leonard upon his return. And they're going to sit up there and they're going to get on them. They're going to talk, some folks are going to call them classless. Some folks are going to look at San Antonio Spurs fans and think they were wrong, etc. Ladies and gentlemen, they were not wrong. I have nothing against Kawhi. I like Kawhi a lot. He's a superstar. Minds his business, grabs his lunch pail, goes to work, does what he does. Kawhi Leonard is a superstar in this game. He is a champion. He is an NBA Finals MVP. He was a consummate professional. Kawhi Leonard was special. And I applaud Greg Popovich for saying all of those things he said. But if I am a Spurs fan, not anybody else, now if I'm in any other city, if I'm an NBA fan overall, I don't care. But if I'm a Spurs fan, you're damn right I would have booed him. He wanted out. He didn't like the Riverwalk. He wasn't enamored with San Antonio. It wasn't the most exciting place for him to be. All of that stuff. He wanted out. But by wanting out, you basically said, look, I appreciate you fans and all of that stuff, but I don't want to be a part of y'all no more. And if ever there's a reason for a fan base to boo you, that would be it. Particularly when your feelings forces the rest of us to question what truly happened with the San Antonio Spurs. You had folks questioning the Spurs organization as to whether or not they messed him up injury-wise. They handled his injury appropriately. This was the gold standard of the NBA that was under scrutiny by the national media and beyond because of what Kawhi's camp proclaimed. Now, the fact of the matter is, that's what it comes down to. So if that was the case, of course they're going to react to the San Antonio, to Kawhi Leonard that way. It's perfectly understandable. And everybody needs to understand that, accept it for what it is, and that is that. Greg Popovich, the consummate professional and class act that he is, nothing surprising there with what he said. Love seeing him hug Kawhi. We moved on. You moved on. Absolutely. Kawhi Leonard had the right to move on. That's what he wanted to do. That's what he did. But the flip side to it is that if you're a San Antonio Spurs fan, as good as DeMar DeRozan was last night, as good of a player as he is naturally, you know he's not Kawhi. So if you're the San Antonio Spurs fan, you're believing you took a step back, that a superstar, universally recognized, one of the top 3 players in the world, didn't want to come and play with you anymore. Why would you cheer him? I have no problem with the fans and them booing him. They appreciate what he did for them, but they wanted more, and he said no more because I don't want to play for you. That is a reason for a fan base to boo. Not the rest of us, but for the San Antonio Spurs fan, they had every right to take the position that they took. 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio on Sirius XM Channel 80, ESPN News, television. Got a couple of more games to get into because we've got Seattle and Dallas, like we said. We've got Indy going up against Houston in the earlier Saturday game. We've got the Chargers against Baltimore, the 1 o'clock game on Sunday. And then we got the Eagles heading to Chicago for a 4:40 p.m. Eastern Time game Sunday afternoon. I'm going to tell you this, too. I'm also intrigued by what I'm going to see from Houston. Now, as you all know, I've already proclaimed that the best team in Texas is in Houston. I've often said that. It's not in Dallas. It's in Houston. And they proved that this season, not just by beating Dallas earlier when Jason Witten had brain freeze, but they also did it because they had a better record. They won a division. They went on a hot winning streak. They won 9 straight, 10 of 11, all of this other stuff. But now the playoffs are here. Now, Deshaun Watson is a stud, and we have no doubt what he's capable of because we saw him play in an NFL-style atmosphere, as far as I'm concerned, when he was playing at Clemson against Alabama in back-to-back national title games. And now you're in the NFL, and you're going to be in the playoffs. Deshaun Watson is a baller. But he's going against Andrew Luck. And I don't know if y'all have seen or recognized this, but Andrew Luck, out all of last year with that shoulder injury, career in jeopardy, is back, ladies and gentlemen. He's back, and he's better than ever. And do you know why he's better than ever? Because he's being coached better than ever. Frank Reich's done a hell of a job in Indy. So you got that going on. Ballard, your GM, has drafted an offensive line led by Quentin Nelson out of Notre Dame. This brother's a rough rider. And they got a bunch of rough riders on that offensive line that are all about going at you. So they block, they pass protect, they run block. Andrew Luck, who's religiously completed 60% or less of his passes throughout his career, is now completing better than 67% of his passes. He's thrown 39 touchdowns, just 15 interceptions. He still has T.Y. Hilton. He's got Eric Ebron, who they picked up in the offseason. That was a big-time pickup. I got news for you right now. Indy is no joke. And even though it's in Houston, and even though it's on the road, I think Indy can beat the Houston Texans. Because I don't know if J.J. Watt and Jadeveon Clowney and those boys are going to be able to get to Andrew Luck. And if you can't get to Andrew Luck, what you going to do? Am I supposed to believe that the secondary for the Houston Texans are going to close the deal, particularly if Andrew Luck has any time to throw?